My name is Brian, and today I'm not spinning a yarn or crafting fiction. I'm going to tell you a real story about my friend Oliver. It's a story that lives in the quiet spaces between the canned goods and the fluorescent lights, a story etched in the lines around his eyes that shouldn't be there at 26. It's messy, it's heartbreaking, and it's as true as the ache I feel telling it. Buckle up. This one's long because grief and regret don't fit neatly into sound bites. Oliver was the third of five, a whole brood of high achievers crammed under one roof growing up. The Fletcher family was practically legendary in our suburban town. Michael, the eldest, flew jets for the U.S. Air Force, picture perfect, disciplined, a hero straight off a recruitment poster. Then came Sophie, a neuroscience professor at some Ivy League university, intimidatingly brilliant. Next was Ethan, a tech wizard who landed a senior role at one of those Silicon Valley giants before he was 30, designing systems that probably run half the internet. Oliver was next. And then the twins. Isabella and Chloe, both literature professors at prestigious East Coast schools, always finishing each other's sentences and academic papers. Oliver? He wasn't just keeping up, he was shining. Number 3, but never an afterthought. His dad, Robert, a self-made construction magnate, believed fiercely in equal opportunities. Oliver got the same tutors, the same encouragement, the same hefty college fund as the others. He was sharp, valedictorian in high school, breezing through his first years at State on a scholarship for engineering. He had this easy grin, a knack for fixing anything broken, bikes, computers, moods, and a quiet determination. We all figured he'd be the next Fletcher Titan, maybe building eco-cities or designing revolutionary bridges. He was that guy. Then came Emma. She arrived sophomore year, transferring into our Literature 101 class. Oliver, dragged there for a gen ed requirement, sat slumped beside me. Emma walked in late, sunlight catching the copper in her hair, clutching a battered copy of Wuthering Heights. She wasn't just beautiful, she had this vividness. She argued passionately about Heathcliff, laughed too loud at the professor's dry jokes, and spilled coffee on Oliver's notes, apologizing with eyes that held entire constellations. It was instantaneous for him. Like a switch flipped. Oliver, the pragmatic engineer, fell headlong into poetry and grand gestures. He started showing up at our literature seminars just to see her. He'd talk about her eyes, her laugh, the way she saw the world in shades no one else could see. It was beautiful, honestly, at first. Watching cautious, logical Oliver get swept away. He won her over. Of course he did. He was Oliver Fletcher, kind, smart, handsome, with that Fletcher drive channeled entirely into loving Emma Carter. And oh, did he love her. He'd skip study groups to take her on surprise picnics. He spent his entire summer internship savings on a weekend trip to Paris because she'd mentioned dreaming of the Eiffel Tower. Birthdays were diamond pendants, anniversaries were weekends in Bali. He bought her a vintage typewriter because she loved the clack sound. He learned to make her favorite, impossibly complicated Hungarian pastry from her grandmother's recipe. He rearranged his entire class schedule, even dropped a crucial engineering lab to match hers. We saw less of him. The easy grin became more focused, solely for her. His studies, well, they started to slip. Assignments got handed in late. He missed a crucial midterm because Emma was having a rough day. We'd try to talk to him, me, his roommate. Jake, even stoic Michael on a rare visit home. Ollie, man, balance, Jake would say. You've got dreams too. Oliver would just shake his head, that lovesick haze in his eyes. Emma is my dream now. The rest is just background noise. The background noise became a deafening roar junior year. Rumors started. Whispers that Emma was seen getting awfully cozy with Mark, Oliver's best friend since kindergarten. Mark, who crashed on our couch most weekends, who Oliver had bailed out of trouble more times than I could count, who called Oliver's parents Mom and Pop Fletcher. We dismissed it. No way. Not Mark, but Oliver knew. He found the texts. Explicit planning, laughing about him. He confronted them in Mark's apartment. Walked in on them. The image, he told me later, voice hollow, was seared onto his retinas. Emma's shirt, the one he'd bought her in Venice, crumpled on Mark's floor. The collapse was catastrophic. Oliver didn't just break, he shattered. He dropped out of college weeks before finals. Just stopped going. He couldn't face the campus, the places they'd been, the pitying looks. He moved back home, a ghost haunting the Fletcher mansion. His dad, Robert, tried tough love. Get back on the horse, son. Fletchers don't quit. His mom, Eleanor, tried gentle coaxing. Michael offered to pull strings for the Air Force. Sophie sent self-help books. Ethan offered a coding boot camp. Isabella and Chloe sent long, empathetic emails about heartbreak in Victorian novels, but Oliver was drowning. He couldn't focus. Couldn't read a paragraph without seeing Emma's face. Couldn't sleep without the betrayal replaying. He started working nights at the 24-hour Value Mart grocery downtown, stocking shelves. It was mindless, anonymous. He told his family it was temporary just until he got his head straight. 3 years crawled by. Oliver was still at Value Mart, now on the register. The spark was gone, replaced by a weary numbness. He lived in a tiny, cramped apartment above a laundromat, the constant thrum a grim soundtrack. We stayed friends, me and Jake. We'd drag him out for beers, try to talk about the old days, about the future. He just shrugged, swirling his drink. What future? This is it. He carried the betrayal like a physical weight, stooped under it. He saw Emma and Mark around town sometimes, a living wound he couldn't avoid. Then, the news. A year ago, Emma had cancer. Aggressive, rare. It moved fast. Oliver found out through the town gossip mill, the same way he'd learned about the betrayal. He didn't go to see her. He told me, sitting on the fire escape of his apartment, the neon sign of the pawn shop across the street flickering on his face. What would I say, Brian? Sorry you're dying, but you broke me? Or pretend it never happened? I just can't. There was anger there, yes, but beneath it an ocean of bewildered grief. Grief for the girl he'd loved, grief for the future he'd imagined, grief for the person he used to be. She died 6 months later. Oliver went to the funeral. Stood at the very back, behind a pillar, in his Value Mart vest because he came straight from his shift. He saw Mark, red-eyed and broken. He saw Emma's family. He didn't speak to anyone. He just stood there, a statue carved from sorrow and unresolved pain, and then he left before the final prayer. You'd think her death might have released something. It didn't. It just made the trap more permanent. The why of her betrayal would never be answered. The chance for any kind of closure, however bitter, was gone. The city felt even more suffocating, haunted not just by memories of betrayal, but now by the ghost of the young woman he'd adored before it all went wrong. And his family? The brilliant, soaring Fletchers? They've moved on. Or moved up. Michael's a major now, stationed in Germany, posting pictures of castles and his perfect family. Sophie's groundbreaking research gets featured in magazines. Ethan's company went public, he's ludicrously wealthy. Isabella and Chloe publish acclaimed books and lecture internationally. Robert and Eleanor split their time between a winter home in Florida and cruising the Mediterranean. Oliver? He's the smudge on the pristine Fletcher portrait. The son who threw it all away over a girl. The one working the checkout at Value Mart while his siblings conquer the world. The invitations, they dried up. First, it was the big Thanksgiving at Michael's new place in Germany. Too far, and you'd have to take time off work. Oliver. Then Ethan's lavish wedding in Napa. It's a very small, intimate affair, mostly just colleagues. Then Christmas at the Florida condo. Mom and Dad just need a quiet one this year, sweetheart. The last family group text he was included in was over a year ago. The silence is deafening. I see him most days. I manage the auto shop next to Value Mart. I pop in for coffee, chat with Mrs. Gable, the ancient but sharp head cashier who's taken a maternal shine to Oliver, calling him her lost lamb. I see him scan groceries, his eyes distant, flinching slightly when a customer laughs too loud or a child cries. He moves with the careful, deliberate slowness of someone carrying something very fragile and very heavy inside. Just last week, I found him after his shift, sitting on the curb behind the store, staring at a crumpled photo. It was him and Emma, maybe 19, laughing on a beach somewhere, tanned and impossibly young, the world an oyster they hadn't yet choked on. Brian, he said, his voice raw, barely a whisper above the dumpster's hum. Look at us. We were kids. I thought love was this unstoppable force. That if you gave it everything, it would build you a palace. But it wasn't. It was a wrecking ball. and I handed them the controls, her and Mark. I let them swing it right through my life. And now, he gestured vaguely at the grimy alley, the overflowing dumpster, the back door of Value Mart. Now this is the rubble. And I don't know how to rebuild. I don't even know where to find the bricks. He looked up at me, and the sheer, unvarnished despair in his eyes stole my breath. My whole family, they're architects. They build empires. And I'm just the guy who got lost on the way home. How do you even start again when the map you had burned up? That's where he is, my friend Oliver. Trapped in the devastating aftermath of a love that turned toxic, grieving a loss that was both a betrayal and a death, estranged from the family whose success is a constant, unspoken rebuke, working a job that barely pays the rent on a life he never wanted. The potential, the brilliance, the easy smile, buried under layers of pain and disillusionment so thick he can't find his way out. He doesn't need platitudes. He doesn't need someone telling him to snap out of it or move on. He needs, I don't know what he needs. Maybe just someone to sit in the rubble with him for a while, without judgment, and maybe, just maybe, help him see that even in the debris there might be one salvageable brick. But right now, even that feels like too much to hope for. That's Oliver's story. It's not over, but God, this chapter is heavy. And it's real. Every heartbreaking, complicated, messy bit of it.